at the end of last winter, my heated grips, these are Heingericke grips, packed up. In fact, what happened was one side packed up, and what nearly always happens is it's the left hand. So on the bike it's this one. The usual reason is when you put the bike up on the stand or off the stand, you grip that really tightly and it breaks up the mesh that's inside it, that's actually the heating element. So that's why I had to replace them. Now initially I decided I'd replace them with these fat comfy ones like they have on the cafe racers. Well, this was a desperate mistake. Put it on there, see how much thicker it is than the one that's on there. You suddenly realise that you haven't actually got enough reach, so you end up doing this, which is really uncomfortable. I even shaved the back of the thing down to make it more comfortable before giving up, and then going to the cheap shop and buying these. I think these are about 10 quid. Now these things look fantastic. They've got this lovely CNC finish. You've got the, what's it say there, motrax.co.uk. In the real world, these things are bloody hopeless. This aluminium ring is freezing cold. So any day that you're out and it's cold, that's trying to burn its way, give you a cold burn through your glove. So I'm going to put on a new set of heated grips, which are the world's cheapest. I paid £7.80 for them. First thing to do then is get the old grips off. On this one, this metal ring just peels off, and this is actually on a cam, so it tightens it down. So if you can work out which way to tighten it, it will then loosen it off. That's loosened off there, and then it should be able to just pull this off. Now ordinarily that will be glued in there, so you need to break that bond. Right, so this has turned out to be a real bugger to come off, and it doesn't want to come off. So what I've done is I've stuck a screwdriver in there, down as far as I can, and then I've put a bit of silicone lube inside. That gets in under the seal, and then I can actually wind it off. But I tell you what, I had to do it with two hands to start with. That's a real bum. And there's no glue on that, that's just the stiction. Right, there we go. The reason I chose these £7.80 set of grips is because they've got this lovely dinky little switch, multi-position, which when it's on there is not in the way of anything. So hopefully that just eases its way on there. Perfect. That goes up, that goes down. It's not fouling these switches, and the cable here, I can position it so it's not in the way of the horn switch, and it's not going to get crimped by the clutch. So the throttle side, accelerator, that works in a different way. That passes into this housing and has got a gear. So there's my spare one, and that gear has to slot into there. So we need to take that plate off and just take that out, making sure that you know which way up it is, so it's exactly in the right place when you put it back together. The aluminium cover plate just pops off. You put a screwdriver on it and it will lift out that way, but you need to be careful because it's sprung against that, so make sure you don't break that. And then there's the chain drive, you can see a little chain, and there's the actual gear, and you have to make sure that when you take that out it goes in the right place. Now there's a lug there that drops in that slot, so make sure the slot is uppermost, otherwise it'll be a right pain when you come to take it apart. And then that just slides out, look, that's really easy. I'm going to leave that grip on there because it's a spare one, and I might want to use these again in the future, because although they're no good in the winter, they're pretty good in the summer. So now you can slide in the other sleeve. Let's make sure that it goes in the right place. If you notice, actually, there's a little arrow, and I think that goes right in the middle like that, so that when you turn it, it's in the right place. This is going to try and pop out. Make sure that it doesn't. It's lovely and full of cycle grease. That just tips back in. There's a little hook on it here, so you hook it under there, pop it back in, do that up, and just test that you've got the right amount. Twist, that's perfect. Now the thing is to line up so that when you put on the heated grip, the cable comes down well down here, so that when you're in full throttle it doesn't come over the top and twist itself and break. So I've got it all lined up. The cable's going straight down, so when it's at this point it's not fouling the switch. I might turn it just a bit more so that it's straight down. Put some silicone on there and then slowly push it on. This stuff is great, this silicone, because it dries to a film, but it really helps with putting on rubber parts. So you can see that's starting to go. I'm going to have to do that with two hands. That is not a one-handed job. So I've just used my strength to push it on. I couldn't get it all the way in, so I've just tapped it with a rubber mallet, just gently, you know, not bashing it, and that's got it in place. What is annoying though is that is not where I wanted it. I wanted it further around, so I can hopefully turn this to get it in the right place. So if you put it right round to full throttle like that, all the way around against the stop, then you can use your strength just to move it that little bit more. When the silicone dries out, there is no way that's going to slip, and that is just out of the way, so your thumb goes onto the indicator, not onto this wire. The wire's going to be drawn forward anyway. So that's the easy bit. Now we need to run the wires in down underneath the tank, and the accessory point is just there, so the tank has to come off. So it's at this point that you feel lucky that you haven't got one of the fad bikes with all the bits that are in the way, and it is actually really easy to get most of that off in about 30 seconds. Okay, so now we're ready to actually disconnect the tank, and you'll see that there's two fuel lines here and one here. They need to be undone and just popped off. Sometimes it helps just to lift the tank to get at it. To take the tank right off, you have to pop it out of these grommets, one on either side, and you have to undo the harness, and that controls the fuel pump and the fuel sender. That just pops apart. It's got a little couple of ears that you open up. That's got a lot of petrol in it. This is what it looks like underneath the tank. That's the voltage regulator, and then there's the loom for all the various different connections, and they're all unique, they're all different, so you can't connect up the wrong thing. And what you'll be looking for is a connector just here. If the bike is original, that'll have a little plastic BMW connector on it, which I've taken off, and that's the power takeoff for the heated grips. So because I didn't have standard heated grips, I've just put a little connector there, and at the moment I've also connected into that power an auxiliary circuit for the fan that I've added. So you won't see this on your bike unless you've put in your own fan, and the fan itself has its own switch which is up on the handlebars. The original wiring for the fan is still in there, that's that, and that's part of the temperature sender circuit which failed, so I didn't use it again. What we're looking at is connecting into there. Now it seems to me that as long as I don't put the heated grips on at the same time as the electric fan, they can both come off the same power source. They've both got fuses. Now you need to run the wires down into the frame. So this has got to come across here, that can be cable tied onto there, and then it's got to come down, it's got to go under this bar and into here and connect into the circuit pit, which is just there. The other side, which is a thinner wire, that's got to come down, go under the top of the frame there, come across and connect in. The wires that came from the loom of the heated grip were 1 centimetre too short, so I've made an extra extension here, put them into blocks here and then put them into the connection on the bike. Now I'm sure there are plenty of automotive engineers looking at this with horror, going, oh my god, he's using open blocks. Now the thing you've got to bear in mind is that I've been doing this for 19 years, that's no excuse, because every 2 or 3 years you have to change these because they get broken. If you were to heat shrink this on, there is literally 2 centimetres of the original loom. You would never be able to do it, you'd have to end up dismantling the loom. So this has worked really well, this should work fine. One thing to bear in mind, that on BMW motorbikes the earth is brown, so try and always have a brown line for the earth. So that's earth, and then there's a bundle of earths just here. You can see they're all brown, which is really confusing because house wiring, brown is live, and this is actually a piece that I've taken out of a cable that used to be for the lawnmower. So the brown is earth, the blue is live. And on BMW motorbikes every single line is colour coded according to which accessory it's connected to. So the lives are all different colours. Anyway, that's all done. Let's give it a check. Put the key in, turn it on. All my lights have come on. Power up, my lovely dinky little switch. That still turns, but I'll put a tiny bit of glue in there to stop that. Put my hand on there, and that's warming up already. That is amazingly fast. I have put it on full, and you've got 1, 2, 3, and off. Well, that's worked really well. The other thing to check, of course, is that on full lock, nothing snags. And that's all looking good. So, tank can go back on now. Great. When you put the tank back on, make sure it seats properly. Make sure you do up the 2 fuel hoses, which are under there, and put the shroud back on. If it sits properly, this will all just pop together in exactly the right place, so that's all good. And then make sure you connect the fuel pump and the fuel sender, otherwise the bike won't start. And then give the bike a run up to make sure you haven't done something horrible to it that stops it working. Perfect.